Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Wow, kind of crazy, you know? Boobies are no longer popular and people are losing their minds. It's just, I don't even know what to think, to be honest. There was, not long ago, reports of an active shooter at a university in, Ohio. Real quick, let me pull that back up again and see if there's anything newer on that situation. Uh, let's see. 17. Okay, this here is saying no active shooters. So, musking. Hang on. Hang on, and I'll bring it up here. Close the window. I said close. Closing. Just close. Thank you. Sheriff says no active shooter at Muskingum University. I guess that's Muskingum. I'm not quite sure. Says the Muskingum County Sheriff's Office said there was no evidence of a shooting at Muskingum University Monday night after the school issued a shelter-in-place order. That's basically the most important part we need to know, so that's a good thing. I was seeing reports of that a little bit ago, and I looked, and it was pretty much new then, and they didn't know anything yet. So that's good. That wasn't the situation. However, I do know that there was a shooting. I think it was yesterday at a mall in Alabama, and I have noticed there's been a fairly big uptick in these shootings and the violence, and it's kind of surreal. I sat there and I think, well, could it at all be politically related or anything? And I think maybe some of it. I surely wouldn't think a lot of it is, but I would say that people, especially on the left, are awful tense right now. And you have to understand. And for those that don't know, I don't bat for either team. I don't do cults of any kind, whether they're religious cults, political cults. I don't do cults of any kind. Cults of any color. Now, maybe Dolly Parton ought to rewrite that song. Cults of many colors. Anyway, I know, bad joke. But I don't. It would probably appear lately that I'm beating the drum awful hard for red team, and yeah, I am. But here's why. I don't like liars. In fact, I despise liars with a passion. My life. And when I say my life, I'm not talking about, just from what happened since my marriage ended and all that, which again, there's a lot of lies involved in that. And I'm not just speaking about that. My whole life, I have had nothing but trouble from people that just can't seem to tell the truth. And so when I look at what's going on with the left, that's all I see. I mean, they literally, and let me make this clear. Some of these folks may not even know how much they're lying or how big a lies they're telling, because they're just repeating what others are telling them. But the root of the information is absolutely based on lie. And I don't separate people that know better versus people that don't. If you lie, you lie. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. Every single one of us, it's our responsibility to vet the information that we put out there. That whether it's on social media, a post that we share or that we put up, we make ourselves. It's our job as individuals to vet that information. And it doesn't matter, and I'm speaking from the Bible here. It doesn't matter whether you realize that you're spreading a lie or not. If you're spreading a lie, even if you don't know it, that's still a lie, and that still counts as a lie. So, why did I bring this up? Because a lot of times when people act out, especially violently, in many cases, if mental illness of any kind is involved, it's because of people feeling hopeless and helpless. They feel like they don't have any options. They don't feel like they have anywhere to turn. And when I say violence, I don't necessarily mean just about on others. It can be, self-harm. It kind of all lumps in together the same. It really does. Some people are explosive, and those are the type of people that would commit mall shootings or school shootings or what have you. And other people are implosive. Those are the people that would commit self-harm. However, it's typically based on the lack of stability in somebody's life. And that's why I brought up the whole lie thing with the left. Because so many of them are running on so many lies. Some people are figuring it out. Some people can't figure it out and they don't understand, and that in itself is the turmoil. Other people, they just don't know where to turn. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just kind of trying to explain a mindset here. But there's one other thing that you're not going to hear from psychologists. You're not going to hear on your late night news. There's only a couple of people you would probably hear utter a word about it. And that would be myself and Ben Davison. I don't know of anybody else where you would hear this. Our bodies are like bioelectrical machines. Okay, now I don't understand so much the bio part of it, right? The living tissue, the cells, the circulatory system. But when we get to talking about the nervous system, and we get to talking about the brain and how it functions, the synapses and all that stuff, I'm a little bit more acclimated to understand that stuff. And our bodies are pretty sensitive. Different animals, and we're animals, different animals have different levels of sensitivity to different types of electrical types of energy. For instance, birds, and it now seems like they're learning some fish, are very, very sensitive to magnetic, any type of magnetic, polarity, okay? That's how birds know where to fly. They're finding out that that's how a lot of fish know where they need to go and when they need to go there. Because they're very sensitive to those things. Now, I can't tell you whether or not mankind is very sensitive to that. And the reason why is because we have so many other acute senses. And then we've got so many distractions from the time we're a newborn all the way up until the day we die. We've got so many distractions, so many things going on around us that we're not necessarily that in tune with those types of senses. If we didn't have all that other stimulus going on all the time, yeah, we might be able to literally feel which way is north. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I've always had outside stimulus just like you and everybody else has. I wouldn't put it far out of the realm of possibility, though. However, when it comes to mass magnetic changes, that is going to have an effect on every single living being. And the reason why is because our bodies are bioelectrical. There is so much electricity that operates the different functions of our body. When you move your arm up and down, that's electricity. That is literally electrical impulses from start to finish. From your brain processing what it is you want to do, to telling the motor part of your brain, hey, this dumbass wants you to lift up your arm. To your motor part of your brain, I know I'm using such technical language here, sending the electrical impulses to your muscles. And there's so much more else involved because you've got your nerves, right? How high do I lift my arm? You use several different ways to tell how high to lift your arm. Your nerves are part of that. Of course, if you're looking at your arm, your eyes are going to be a part of that. So all of that runs on electrical impulses. We are very, very subject to changes, whether we realize it or not, in the magnetism of the planet. Especially, and this is one of the biggest ways that we are affected by that, psychologically. Everybody's heard about the full moon and people acting crazy in the full moon. All you got to do is ask any cop, ask anybody that works in a hospital emergency room, ask them about the full moon, if they see a change during the full moon, and they'll all verify it. That, and if you know me very well, you know that I kind of discount the whole idea of gravity. I'm a firm believer that it's not gravity, it's magnetism. And as you know, full moon, there's a change on the gravitational pull that will actually cause the tides of the ocean to change. So it's not far off to think, and we've got much evidence to prove it, that during the full moon, that change in gravitational, aka magnetic force, will actually change a human's actions, a human's way of thinking. We already know that. We can tell it every lunar cycle. Maybe we should call it loony cycle. So, the reason I bring all of this up is because of the increase that we're seeing in the violence and just the odd behavior as a whole. I've got a couple of stories. They're actual local stories, not here in town, but St. Louis, not far from us. And, wow, both of them are just insane. Let me have a sip of coffee. We'll jump over to WebView. We'll take a look at it. Gotta have that coffee, though. Because, you know, coffee before bedtime, that's what all smart people do. Right. No, that's what I do that makes me have to get up and pee in the middle of the night. Because I'm that smart. No, I just like coffee, and it gives me a little bit of a perk for the show, to be honest. If I didn't do the news show, I probably wouldn't have my evening coffee. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably put it out of my repertoire. Ooh, look at me. I can mispronounce fancy words. Run, Forrest, run! Alright. Let's see. Might help if I get the right screen up. Or right window. I'm working on, by the way, oh, well, that's nice. Trump says Putin treated him with great respect. Well, that's nice. Tweet that out real quick. I'm actually working on some video with, what the hell is it called? Kling? Yeah, Kling AI. Ben Davidson was actually messing with it. and that's how I know about Kling AI. And he made some kind of impressive video with it, so I'm sure he's got the paid version. I'm in the cheap seats, but we'll see. We'll see what it turns out. So anyway, I've got a couple of local articles that just insane, man. Just people are off their rocker. First one here. Man charged for racially motivated assault of customer at Deerbergs in St. Louis County. So, I don't know if you've got a Deerbergs around. It's just a grocery store. So, says a man has been charged after police say he repeatedly punched a customer at Deerbergs in a racially motivated assault. According to a release, Sean Singer, 31 of St. Louis, was charged with assault motivated by discrimination for punching a man inside the Deerbergs at 12595 Olive Boulevard, whatever. Per a probable cause statement, the victim told police he was walking in an aisle when Singer passed him and muttered something he couldn't understand. When the victim asked Singer if he had said something, Singer responded, "Go back to your effing country." The victim asked what he had ever done to Singer before Singer started heading towards him, swinging his fists. When the victim tried to get away, he fell to the ground, and Singer began hitting him repeatedly in his face and upper body. Another person tried to pull him off the victim, but was unsuccessful. Eventually, Singer stopped when he heard that police were being called. When officers arrived on the scene, Singer and the victim were both there. Singer told the officers, "It was just me. I'm not saying anything else." Well, that wasn't truthful. He was then placed in handcuffs before continuing with, "I'm tired of foreigners, man. Walking all over the place, making our money cost so much more than it should. Effing people trample over us. I'm next effing going to China to take them down because they were part of the COVID vaccine virus." Now, YouTube, I'm just saying what this guy said. Following his arrest, police say Singer continued making spontaneous remarks. "Don't blame this on me, man. There's people who are from other countries that are taking jobs away from us. I'm speaking about jobs in construction, jobs in workplace, same thing, homie. Foreigners are taking over. Why you such a punk, man?" I guess he asked the cop that. "Can't you see what I'm trying to do? People from other countries are trying to take our jobs." St. Louis County Police Department Central County Precinct officers are handling this investigation. He was charged on February 22nd and being held on $40,000 bond. Now, I know the left would jump all over this and they would say, "Well, see, look at the radical right. Look at what they caused." No, this is mental illness. This is mental illness. I think, I don't know, there was a picture of the dude. Let me see if it's in the video. Not that I guess that matters so much, but, Well then. There was a picture of the dude. I can't remember how it was. I saw the picture. It might have been on the home page. Let me see if it is. The dude looks a little crazy, to be honest. Nah. There he is. Probably can't see that really well. Let me zoom that in. Whoa, not like that. Let me see if I can... Inspect. See if I can bring that up a little bit. Yikes, where did it go? Hell with that. Well, there he is right there. I I doubt I'll be able to bring the video or the image up anymore. Ah, hell with it. That's him right there. I don't know what his problem is, but he's certainly got a problem. This cat. Ah, and moved again, man. Moved again. There we go. That's good enough there. I don't get it. Complete dumbass. Like I say, it's mental illness. I mean, normal people don't do stuff like that, and they won't take political rhetoric. And I know it goes beyond political rhetoric. I mean, part of what he's saying is true. I mean, it's not that what he's saying is completely false, but it's not having the kind of impact that he's acting like, and it's certainly not something that you just, walk up to somebody and start throwing hands over. That's stupid. On many counts, that's stupid. Number one, you don't know if that person you're looking at was born here. Hell, their great-grandparents could have been born here. There's no way that you would know. And to me, that is the most ridiculous thing ever. Just to look at somebody and say, oh, well, that person's this, from this country or that country. They got to be stealing my jobs, right? That's so stupid. Truth of the matter is, that cat's probably too lazy to do half the different jobs that person from Mexico, or wherever that happened, whether it was grandparents, parents, himself, however, probably too lazy to do the same kind of work, right? Man, I'll tell you what, you get a crew together of folks from Mexico, and they'll get some stuff done. The landlord, one of the houses on the property here had to be re-roofed. And so it was a Mexican crew that did it. In fact, one of the rules, I guess, that the town has is that if you're a roofing company and you come into town to do a roof, somebody on the crew has to be able to speak English. I'm not kidding. And so I know that at some point one of the supervisors for the crew or whatever had to hurry up and get his butt back here, because I guess they were kind of just checking permit kind of stuff and all of that. So anyway, that's how I found out about that. That was interesting. But them guys get stuff done. I mean, point blank, they get stuff done. They did a really good job on that roof over there. I mean, it is what it is. Do I think that we should have open borders? No. We need to tighten that stuff up tight as a drum. However, there are legal ways to come into this country from another country and work. I ain't got no problem with that. And chances are probably pretty good, to be really honest. All those folks that were working on that roof were probably here legally. Where we live at, there's not a lot of BS that's allowed. Like I said, it's literally in like one of the ordinances that if you have a foreign work crew, somebody on the crew has to be able to speak English. That's literally like in the towns. I don't know if it's the ordinance or exactly what it is. It has, I'm sure, to do with building and zoning and all that. But they don't mess around here. They won't have for it. I'm pretty certain that every one of those people on that crew were probably here legally and doing everything like they were supposed to. I don't have a problem with that. And the reason why I don't have a problem with that is because, like I just said a little bit ago, a lot of people here in this country too lazy to do that kind of work. Climb up on a hot-ass roof and do that kind of work. I'm not saying that there aren't. We've got plenty of people that were born and bred here. Right here in town, that do roofing and do construction and all that kind of stuff. But to just walk up to somebody in a grocery store and start trouble with them because they're obviously, their heritage is from a different country, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But let me tell you what. That story is not nearly disturbing on the level that this one is. 41-year-old St. Louis man attacks his senior parents after an argument over internet outage, charges say. This is insane. 41-year-old St. Louis man is criminally charged with attacking his parents who are in their 70s after an argument about the internet going down at their home. St. Louis Metropolitan Police arrested 41-year-old Maurice A. Fulton on Sunday, and prosecutors charged him with 2 counts of third-degree domestic assault. The court has ordered that he be held without bond pending an appearance. According to the charging documents, police arrived at the home for multiple calls about a disturbance and met with the victims, who are 74 and 73 years old. Officers learned that after an argument about the internet being down at the residence, Fulton allegedly attacked both of his parents. Fulton allegedly struck his father and mother and tried to strangle his father with a power cord, according to charging documents. He is also accused of throwing his mother to the ground. Police said Fulton was taken into custody at the residence. A trial date has not been set. Now, this ain't a matter of them shutting his internet off. This sounds like a matter of the internet company having problems and the internet going down. Man, and again, I'm going to say that this is rooted in mental illness. But let me throw a little caveat to that. Number one, I think there are far more people that have mental illness than people realize. And I'm not demeaning anybody. I've PTSD, I've got anxiety, I've had mental illness all my life. So I'm definitely not pointing fingers and go, oh, you're mentally ill, because I'm pointing at myself at the same time. I am aware of my mental illness. And being aware of it, that's probably the most important step, being self-aware. The second most important step is facing the demons. Well, in the cases of a lot of people, I don't even think they've made that first step. I don't even think they realize it. When are you going to see it? Oh, if we have a major event that happens in this country, and there's no electricity, there's no internet, you're going to see it within sight of a couple of days. Some places, maybe a couple of hours. But I don't know. If people knew that it wasn't coming back, the power of the internet, a couple hours. But if they had a little bit of hope, like this is just going to be a hiccup, you might get a couple of days. It won't take long, though. And you'll have people fighting in the streets and going crazy. Hey, look, there's been towns here in the U.S. to where there was, I think it was on the East Coast, maybe North Carolina or something, I can't remember exactly what happened, but fairly good-sized chunk of people didn't have electricity. And there were people there was a trailer park, man. They had people that were just freaking out on each other. I mean, it was crazy. And that was, that was people knowing that they could. I don't think it was even like the entire town or nothing, but the internet, not the internet, the power was out for I don't remember how long, but it was a little bit of time. But you could get in a vehicle and you could drive and you could go somewhere that had power. You could drive somewhere where the gas pumps were working. So it wasn't this, this type of situation where, oh shit, this is this way across the entire country, or this stuff ain't coming back. You already had people flipping out. So yeah, I think separation anxiety from social media and technology is going to be a rabid animal from hell that we can't even begin to understand at this point as far as the level of it. That's not something I'm looking forward to. People freak out if Facebook goes down for 30 minutes. I mean, they aren't typically pulling their neighbor out their window and beating them to death or nothing, but I mean, people still freak out. Hang on, let me just see what that notification was for. Okay. Doesn't really have any information. I just got a notification Ammon Bundy went live, so. Anywho, I wanted to bring those two stories of craziness to you. Now let's talk about boobies. Boobies. Apparently boobies aren't as popular as what they once were. Hooters is likely preparing to file for bankruptcy, report says. I noticed there's not nearly as many people watching now as there were in the beginning. They probably thought I was going to start out with a booby story, but I guess I disappointed them. Hooters is likely preparing to file for bankruptcy, according to a new report from Bloomberg. The outlet said that Hooters is reportedly working for the Ropes and Gray law firm to prepare a bankruptcy filing. The plans are not final, but if they go through, Bloomberg said that the bankruptcy filing would begin in the next few months. According to Restaurant Business Online, Hooters has just under 300 locations nationwide. The outlet reported that Hooters had been struggling to pay its bills for a while, and in 2024 took about 4 times longer to pay its vendors than the average restaurant chain. In June, Hooters closed about 40 struggling locations across the country. Hooters was obtained by a private equity firm in 2019, according to The Independent. So, there was a funny meme that I saw earlier. Said something like they wondered why Hooters was filing bankruptcy, and it had, I don't know, like 5 people in the image, and like 2 or 3 of them were clearly trans, and the others didn't look. I think there was one that looked kind of young and viable, but there's like one. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I have never in my entire life ever been in a Hooters. Not one time. I'm not wired like that. Never been to a strip club. Never been to a Hooters. I'm not wired like that. Not interested. Not that I don't like women, but as far as that, I don't know. I just don't. I don't like a woman as far as like a woman is in for a relationship or something. that always has to show all of her stuff off. I avoid that like the plague. I don't want that. I want a female that's conservative and that isn't always out trying to impress people. I don't care if they wear makeup or not. I couldn't care less. It's certainly not a requirement. And I'm not a big fan of the thought of a woman that has to get herself all dolled up to go somewhere. That's not. I want somebody that can be true, somebody that can be themselves. And to me, when you go put on all that damage correction, it just, I don't know. It's just not, to me, that's not real. That's not authentic. Now, I wouldn't, if a woman wanted to get dressed up and put on makeup, whatever, But if it's a requirement just to go out and get the damn mail or something, that's a little bit ridiculous. In my opinion, everybody's got their own thing, but I like people that are a little more secure with themselves than that. So anyway, switching gears from crazy people and boobies, let's talk about AI traffic cameras and what they're being used for now. 'Cause you know how they would catch you if you were speeding or if you ran the red light or whatever. This is getting insane. As the headline says, AI traffic cameras are being used to reduce distracted driving west of the Twin Cities. Law enforcement in Minnesota, West Metro area has new technology utilizing artificial intelligence to help reduce distracted driving. We've kind of discovered it's a bigger problem than I think we realize, said South Lake Minnetonka Patrol Sergeant Adam Moore. Moore is referring to distracted driving, which up until now was typically not caught on camera. Pardon me. It's one of the things that plagues Highway 7, said Moore. In 2024 alone, Moore says Highway 7 saw at least 5 fatal crashes and as many other severe accidents. I don't get it, the whole gotta use your phone while you're driving thing. Put the damn thing down. Again, I'm not wired like other people. I'm just not. Put the damn thing down. I mean, I have a friend that cannot drive her car without her phone in her hand. It's ridiculous. I'm really surprised that she hadn't had a fatal accident herself, to be honest. It really all started because our community asked us for a solution, said Moore. I don't know about that. Officers with the department are now employing the help of AI cameras that can recognize when drivers are on their phones. It gives us the opportunity to see inside the vehicle, said Moore. The Australian-based company Acusensus built the cameras. The cameras are being paid for in part with a more than $400,000 grant from the state. Damn, yo. Almost $500,000 from the state. Elon, where the hell are you, buddy? I'm excited to be the ones on the forefront of this, said Moore. While Moore understands some have privacy concerns, he assures drivers that if police don't take action, photos are deleted within 15 minutes. Bull crap. I don't believe that. Cameras don't automatically issue tickets. Police check and make sure there is an actual distracted driving and then pull the driver over. The department has been using the cameras since February 1st and says officers have stopped more than 100 drivers in the last few weeks thanks to the technology. Our agency personally has written about 70 citations, said Moore. And that's what this is about. Revenue generation. Safety my ass. Moore expects the cameras will detect tens of thousands of distracted drivers by the end of February, and that's a whole lot of dough. We're letting people know this is a problem. They need to focus on driving and they need to put their phones down, said Moore. I would agree with that, but I'm not sure just a simple revenue generation program is, the way to go about that. Look, you have some people that just won't listen. They won't. Look at DUI. There are some individuals, it doesn't matter how many DUIs they get. They'll still get in a car, drunk, and drive. With no license, they don't care. When Jen and I lived, shortly after we got together, we lived in an apartment building in Mount Vernon. And kind of crazy, one night we awoke by Jen's, now no longer with us, rest in peace, brother-in-law, or now ex-brother-in-law, but he's no longer with us. Anyway, he was beating on the door, waking us up, just to make sure we were okay, because some dumbass drunk driver came off the highway. We didn't live in one of the buildings that was next to the highway. Anyway, he came off the highway and drove into one of the buildings, and either the vehicle or the building itself, one of the two caught fire, and literally burnt the entire apartment building down. And pretty crazy. And it happened right next door to the building we were in. But that's from a drunk driver. I don't have a lot of love for drunk drivers. I just don't. It's not that I've got a personal horror story or anything like that. No, not at all. It's just a really dumbass preventable thing, in my opinion. Don't drink and drive. I've never been much of a fan of alcohol. But the reason I got onto that is because the laws regarding drinking and driving are pretty strict. Now, whether or not people actually listen, that's a different story. I don't think they should play footsies with these people, like at least they must do around here, I guess. I think if somebody has 2-3 DUIs and they get caught driving drunk again, I think their ass needs to go away for a while. For a good while. Because I have a feeling that somebody spends 4 or 5 years in the joint, that might have an impact on whether or not they decide to pick up a bottle and a set of car keys again. Maybe. And if not, and they get caught again, put them away for 10 years, 15 years. At least you're keeping them off the highway. This bullshit of just ticketing people, maybe making them spend overnight in jail or even a week, it ain't working. However, when you're dealing with alcoholism, you have an actual addiction there that you're battling. With distracted driving, meaning somebody that can't put their damn phone down to drive the car, that's a lot easier habit to break than alcoholism. And if they would actually start treating people that are using their phones while driving down the road very similar to how they treat drunk drivers, because let's face it, there's not much difference, then maybe they can put a stop to it. But if you're just going to pull them over and give them a ticket, and they do it again, just give them another ticket. I know some states have point systems where if you get so many points or whatever, you lose your license. Still, no, you have to. I agree with a slap on the hand the first time. Because, hey, everybody does stupid stuff. It's just a thing. So, when it comes to, somebody using their phone while driving, first time, yeah, slap on the hand, ticket, The second time, I think they ought to at least spend a day, a night, or what have you in jail, at very minimum. And then a possibility for, 30 days in county or something. Because that phone, in my opinion, and I could be totally wrong on this, isn't such a necessity that somebody's going to be willing to spend another 30 days in a county lockup just because they can't wait till they get home or wherever they're going before they pick it up to respond. I don't know. I'm probably pretty alone on my thoughts with that. Maybe that's because I'm not guilty of doing it. And I wouldn't be if I did drive. I don't drive, so can't be guilty of doing it. I wouldn't if I did drive. To be real honest, I would not. Nope. Alright, let me have a sip of coffee, which is fitting because the next article is about Starbucks. Except, I'm not stupid enough to pay that kind of price for a damn cup of coffee. I'm good with my Folgers 100% Colombian. Because the Colombians know how to grow a whole lot of stuff, Mm. Good stuff. I'm murdering that coffee, though. About halfway done with that cup. Sometimes it's just extra, extra good. Starbucks lays off 1,100 corporate employees as coffee chain streamlines. I gotta say it. I gotta say it. Go woke, go broke. I guess they're gonna do this globally. And says here in a letter to employees released Monday, Nicole said the company will inform employees who are being laid off by midday Tuesday. Nicole said Starbucks is also eliminating several hundred open and unfilled positions. Our intent is to operate more efficiently, increase accountability, reduce complexity, and drive better integration, Nicole wrote in the letter. Starbucks has 16,000 corporate support employees worldwide. That's just insane. But that includes some employees who aren't impacted, like roasting and warehouse staff. Baristas in the company's stores are not included in the layoffs. I think you're going to see a lot of this. I think, for now anyway, I think the fat and happy times are waning. And I think it's going to continue. I know there's a lot of people hopeful for this massive, quick turnaround economically in this country, and it's not going to happen. Trump has even tried to make that clear himself. It's not going to happen. It's going to take time. We've got to build this nation back up. And that's what's the big shame. Two things, big shame. Number one, that he was screwed out of that election in 2020. And number two, COVID. Those two things really put a hurting on this country. If he'd have been reelected, and if COVID never happened, we would be pretty fat and happy by now. We really would. I'm convinced of it. We were in a position at that time that we had a lot more to work with than we've got now. And he was getting that industry back here. You know, we weren't in such stark times. I think we're in some pretty stark times right at this particular moment. We weren't at nearly the point that we are now. And he really had industry coming back to this country. We were on our way back up. Now, it's going to take a little bit more than that, because there's a lot of holes that have to be filled before we can start building back up again. How long will it take? I don't know. I'm not an economist. I'm also not somebody on YouTube that has sat here and just blow a bunch of crap out my mouth to sound cool. I don't know. Can Trump do it in his 4-year term? Partially. I'm confident that he can get a fairly good start on it, and if whoever his predecessor is doesn't try to reverse everything he does, I think by the end of a term or two of the next presidency, we could certainly have our country turning around and in a real good direction. But as it stands, it's going to take a little bit to get this ship turned around. And I think you're going to see a lot of this. You're going to see companies that have just an abundance of employees. Because there's a lot of companies, let's face it, there's a lot of companies that do. There's a lot of different industry that has just a ton of extra people that make insane wages, like administrative positions and stuff that make insane wages. You're going to see, in my opinion, I think you're going to see hospitals and, health groups and stuff like that starting to get rid of some of their administrative positions, because in many cases they're not necessarily needed. One of the things that I commonly hear when it comes to a high-paying administrative position is, because of competition. We need that person, we need to pay that person that much money because that person will keep us in count. And it's the biggest line of crap that I've ever heard. But it typically amounts to somebody knows somebody. And that's what it amounts to in many cases. Let's see. Almost at 9 o'clock. I'm going to pretty much keep the rest of this short. This one I don't need to spend a bunch of time on. EU spending on Russian liquefied natural gas imports quadruples, says data. Yeah. It's crazy. It is really so crazy. They're screwing themselves in the EU. They really are. They really are. I guess there's Putin derangement? Yeah, Putin derangement syndrome. Look, I get it, right? Their neighbor, their buddy is Ukraine, and Putin poked Ukraine in the eye and whatever. But maybe it's time we grow up and we put on our big boy pants, take the diapers off, maybe try some training underwear or something, and try to get along. Which is Trump's entire point of what he's trying to do. Because the EU and the UK have done so much damage to themselves with the idiocy and the way that they've handled this situation. And they're going to be paying for it for a long time. You think we're in a bad situation here? I think the EU is probably in a worse situation than we are. So here's something. I know that there's a lot of people on the left that are upset, and even some people on the right that get upset if you talk about how at least part of the blame of what's going on between Russia and Ukraine is the fault of Ukraine. And it's not just the fault of Ukraine. In fact, I put more blame even on NATO and on the EU and on the old administration, the previous administration, because the only thing Russia did was back up what it said the entire time. That's all Putin did. There was an agreement that Ukraine was not to be a part of NATO, and there was a very clear and obvious push to bring Ukraine into NATO. And they fa-foed. Without a doubt, they fa-foed. And they found out. I don't think that the EU, the UK, the United States, I don't think that any of us had much more that we could give Ukraine. It's a bad situation. But I think taking a sober and most importantly honest look at the situation is important. Because if we want to fix it, if we want peace, that's what it's going to take. Man, you got the EU that are still doing everything they can to try to get NATO troops in there on the ground. Every day they're making statements about trying to get troops there one way or another. And Putin said flat out, no NATO troops. None. That's a deal breaker. He wasn't playing when he said no NATO in Ukraine. And I don't think he's playing now when he's saying essentially the same thing. No NATO in Ukraine. Not even this peacekeeping mission, because we all know what that's about. I'm not saying that he's going to have an issue with NATO countries having forces there. I don't think he'll be too happy if they're, amassing a bunch of troops there. But I think it can be worked out. And I think one or two things are going to happen. Either Trump helps them work something out, something that's amicable and hopefully long-lasting. That's what Putin's wanting, something long-lasting. See, this is the messed up thing. I can clearly see that Trump wants peace. I can see that Putin wants peace. It's NATO and the EU that wants to wreak havoc. And it's not just in Ukraine. I mean, they'd do it anywhere if they could get the opportunity. It's crazy what kind of warmongering people that these nations have had in charge. So anyway, and this is the last article I have open. U.S. firms could return to Russia, says Trump envoy. And there's even talking of, starting to lighten up on sanctions and stuff like that. We'll see, How do you have world peace? You invite everybody to the table. The idea of isolationism doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm not saying that, everybody should be dancing around the campfire singing Kumbaya, but everybody can at least get along on a level. Everybody can be fair with one another. We wouldn't have a need for all the weapons and all the big, huge defense spending and all that. everybody had the opportunity to sit down at the table. And we don't have that. Until we get that, there's always going to be war. There's always going to be conflict. That's why I was so impressed during Trump's first term. When he walked across that DMZ, sat down and had a conversation with Kim Jong-un. One of the proudest moments, as far as I have been on our country ever. And I'm not just saying that. That's a fact. I was highly impressed with that. Kim Jong-un doesn't want to kill off hundreds of thousands of people in conflict. He just wants to be treated equally, treated fairly, and to have the same respect that others have. And what the hell is wrong with that? If we give everybody an opportunity to sit down at the table, you will end conflict across the planet. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. But it has to include everybody. Can't pick and choose. So we'll see. I do think that this Russia-Ukraine thing is about to get wrapped up. I certainly hope so. I'm hoping that the hostilities between Israel and whatever names you want to put on the other side. I refuse to call them the axis of evil because, well, we won't go there tonight. But whether you want to say Hamas or Iran-backed militants, what have you, I mean, that is true. But I think if everybody had an opportunity to sit down at that table and be respected just as much as everybody else, I think you would end the conflicts. But it's going to take honest leaders in all the nations. And it's going to take people that don't want war or don't want to try to steal another country's resources. And that is the hard part to get to. Anyway, I am out of here. I am going to lay down and go to bed because I'm lame. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow evening. I appreciate you coming. Until tomorrow night, shalom.